Still to come today, we are going to be hearing from a couple of different topics. So we're talking about smart pens and smart insulin. But if we just, get back to the script. So just a bit up. No, the other way. Sorry, I've lost my script. Here we go. So we're going to be talking in just a bit about smart pens and smart insulin and closed loops too. But I hope you all enjoyed that. Like we've said, we've talked a little bit about interpretation of data and about not worrying too much about all of that data, because I mean, personally, you can get overwhelmed with the amount of numbers and graphs and all that sort of stuff. But next up on Stream 1 is a first of its kind session at Type 1 in Tech, smart pens. So tell us, have you ever heard about a smart or connected pens? We're going to ask you in a poll. So that will be appearing in front of your faces very, very soon. We also have Dr. Tomás Griffin, who's joining us from Galway in Ireland to talk about insulin delivery systems, so pumps, as well as smart pens, and what's in the pipeline too. So I can't wait to hear about this one. And over on Stream 2, we're continuing on the theme of closed loop as Dr. Fraser Gibb from Edinburgh shares the work in Scotland to get this tech to people. This will be followed by Josie Clarkson, who is a research comms manager at JDRF, another diabetes charity who Diabetes UK work with closely, and to share the ins and outs of these new insulin pens, plus research into smart insulins. It's going to be a very, very smart 50 minutes. But before we get to there, we're going to be hearing your responses on have we ever heard about smart or connected insulin pens. What's changing in front of me, but about a third of you say yes, 55.9% of you say no, and it's changing again, 35% say yes, and nearly 60% say no, and 5% of you say yes. Well, thank you so much for your interaction. Keep those messages coming through in the Q&A box, but here, I believe, is a bit more information about smart insulin and connected insulin pens.
Good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me to talk at the Type 1 and Diabetes Tech Conference. My name is Tomás Griffin. I'm a clinical consultant in diabetes communication technology at the University of Dundee and an honorary fellow at the University of Leicester. My talk will be on insulin delivery systems. These are my disclosures. This is a brief outline of what we will discuss today. So I'll be focusing on smart connected devices and insulin pump therapy. So firstly, there's an evolving diabetes technology landscape, both in terms of glucose sensing technology, where we've transitioned from urine tests to finger pricks to continuous glucose monitoring, in insulin delivery, where we've transitioned from this famous insulin pump, which is the size of a backpack, to something small and compact, and also from regular disposable insulin pens to smart connected devices. And now we've got a whole selection of data management tools available. Today, we will focus on insulin delivery systems. The SAGE study was a multinational, multi-center, single-visit, non-interventional, cross-sectional study in adult individuals with type 1 diabetes, which explored diabetes management among people with diabetes in a real-world setting. In total, nearly 4,000 people with type 1 diabetes were eligible for the study. Injections and pens, pumps, or a combination of the two were used by 79.9%, 19.9% and 0.2% of participants respectively. This chart shows the spread of different insulin delivery systems used in different regions across the world. As you can see, multiple daily injections remain the mainstay of treatment for type 1 diabetes, with between 56.5% in Western Europe to 96.8% in the Middle East using multiple daily injections. Insulin pump use range from 43.3% in Western Europe to 3.2% in the Middle East. This slide shows the changing diabetes technology pathway. On our left, we can see the pathway which was published in 2019. And this shows that the cornerstone at that time was multiple daily injections, at which time you may have progressed to flash glucose monitoring, insulin pump therapy, real-time continuous glucose monitoring. Smart connected devices or hybrid closed-loop insulin pump therapy were not readily available at that time. On the right, we can see the new diabetes technology pathway, which we hope to publish in the coming months. This shows that the first step is multiple daily injections with smart connected devices and continuous glucose monitoring. The next step then is insulin pump therapy, ideally hybrid closed-loop insulin pump therapy for people who are not meeting the patient-centric targets. At any time, you can be referred to specialist services, which may include transplants, specialized mental health, or type 1 diabetes with disordered eating. Now, can you tell me what we're missing here? So on the left, we can see the flash glucose monitoring data. We can see lots of data regarding blood glucose levels. But what we can't see is any data regarding insulin or carbohydrates. And this is where smart connected devices will come into their own. Smart connected insulin devices, such as smart connected pens, caps, and attachments, represent the new generation of technologies designed to help people on multiple daily injections manage their diabetes. You need a separate device for your short-acting insulin and a separate device for your long-acting insulin. Smart connected pens, such as the Novo Pen Echo or the Medtronic N Pen, are reusable insulin pens with refillable insulin cartridges. Smart caps or insulin pen attachments can be attached to the top or side of a disposable insulin pen. Most smart connected devices can be synced to a smart device, such as a smartphone, a tablet, or a computer, and can allow people living with diabetes and their healthcare professionals to view insulin dosing information alongside their glucose information, which may help improve diabetes management. Most smart devices record insulin dosing information, automatically record the injection time and the number of units injected, and partner with compatible diabetes apps. So going back to this slide, what were we missing? Now, you can see here, using Smart Connect devices provides us with more granular data on the doses and timing of insulin administration, which can be then viewed alongside the glucose data. And this allows a granular discussion to take place between the person living with diabetes and the healthcare professional to try and improve outcomes. So the evidence. This is an observational study from colleagues in Sweden that investigated whether the connected Novo Pen 6 could influence insulin regimen management and glycemic control in people living with type 1 diabetes using a basal bolus insulin regime and continuous glucose monitoring in a real-world setting. The time in target glycemic range increased on average by 1.9 hours from baseline during the follow-up period. This corresponds to an increase in about 20% from baseline level of 9.2 hours. Most of the increased time in range is taken from the time greater than 10, which was reduced by 1.8 hours. There was a significant decrease in the amount of time each individual had a blood glucose level less than 3, a significant 20 minutes a day. There was a significant reduction in the variability of the blood glucose levels, but no change in the mean glucose. This suggests that the increased time in range is due to less variability in blood glucose levels, which may be a reflection of better timed insulin injections, leading to less high blood glucose levels and less insulin stacking, or corrections leading to low blood glucose levels. And this is very powerful data. Furthermore, studies have found that significant correlations exist between HbA1c levels and the number of missing bolus injections. Smart connected pens decrease missed bolus doses. A significant decrease of 43% in the average daily number of missed bolus doses injections was observed from baseline, where it was 0.74 meals missed per day to 0.42 meals missed per day at follow-up. And this was after an average of about 180 days and about 5 contacts with a healthcare provider. Based on the assumption that participants had 3 main meals a day, these data show that using smart connected pens may result in an individual decreasing the number of missed meal boluses from 5 meals with a missed dose per week to 3 meals with a missed dose per week. The undetected meal increase is probably because there was an improvement in the timing of the mealtime doses and consequently less variability, and the underlying algorithm was not able to detect that as a meal. The advantages. They're easy to set up, particularly in comparison to an insulin pump. They're usually user-friendly. The priming dose or air shot can be recorded, and this is very valuable. What I've seen since starting using smart connected devices that logs air shots is that lots of people are unaware that an air shot or a priming dose is required prior to giving a short or long-acting dose of insulin. And this has been a great educational tool for people who have come to our clinic. There's no need to manually log insulin. We can have an engaging and open dialogue between the healthcare provider and people with type 1 diabetes to optimize disease management and to promote collaboration, communication, and participation of the individual in their own treatment decisions. It reduces the number of missed boluses. It supports those on multiple injections in the virtual world. Virtual consultations are here to stay. Paper diaries are of limited value. It bridges the gap between pen therapy and the data-driven world of pump therapy. It's the potential to show insulin doses, CGM data, and in the future, carb data on the same platform. In the future, it's also the potential for a bolus advisor. Some practical tips and considerations we found from the clinic. So important to know the type of insulin you want. Not all insulins currently have a smart connected device available. So we need to know, is there a compatible smart device on the market, or will there be one in the future? If you're using short and long acting insulin, I greatly recommend using 2 different colored pens. As these pens are often now reusable, it's important to have backup reusable or disposable pens. Note the maximum dose of insulin that can be given by a pen, because it might be too small for you, and you might need a different type of smart connected device. Also worth noting the minimum dose, especially if you're using a bolus advisor that goes up in 0.5 unit increments. Again, a bolus advisor to support dosing decisions. Important to check the compatibility of the smart connected device with your smartphone, your CGM platform. Does it need Bluetooth or near field communication? And again, I can't emphasize enough, don't forget your backup short and long acting pens, especially if you're using a reusable pen that's based on cartridges. Some of the utility things from smart connected devices is as an educational tool. So we can see here, we're able to look at this data with the person living with diabetes and note a missed mealtime bolus and the impact that that can have on blood glucose levels. Then we were able to look at the timing of the mealtime boluses. As you can see here, the bolus was given after the rise in glucose had already taken place, leading to about a 10 millimole rise in glucose. We were able to explain that that rise would have been much less if the mealtime bolus had been delivered earlier. Where else has it been useful? So boluses, timing of mealtime boluses, in particular post-meal boluses, identifying overcorrection and stacking. In terms of basal insulin, we're able to look at the timing and missed basal doses, optimizing injection technique, in particular priming, reducing the burden of manually recording insulin doses. For people with a HbA1c greater than 10%, we're able to use it to set SMART goals to try and increase the number of insulin injections given. For those with an A1c of 7.5 to 10%, we're able to look at the timing of doses, the occasional missed doses, the between meal corrections, the active insulin. And for a HbA1c less than 7.5%, we're able to identify different outliers, stacking, and other issues that were taking place. So who would benefit? Are you worried about insulin omission? Definitely a benefit there. Worried about an accidental overdose? So this person came to us in clinic and said, I'm always worried about double dosing since I accidentally took 2 doses of my long-acting insulin last year. This caused a severe nighttime hypo and I ended up in hospital. Smart connected device, a clear benefit here. Are you a parent worried about whether your son or daughter has taken their insulin in school? Are you worried about a loved one who has some cognitive impairment? Do you want to see how much insulin you have on board if you're doing some microdosing? Indeed, a smart connected device would benefit everyone on an insulin injection. How do you get this smart connected device? Just ask your primary or secondary care team. Provided your insulin has a compatible smart connected device, you should be able to get access to the smart connected device for the insulin that you have. There are a limited number of devices currently available, but this is expanding rapidly. Now, with the development of smart connected devices, it's balancing the scales between multiple daily injections and pump therapy, which leads us nicely onto the next section. What is an insulin pump? An insulin pump is a small electronic device that releases the regular insulin your body needs throughout the day and night. So you don't need to do insulin injections. This can help keep your blood glucose levels within your target range, but you'll need to have it attached to your body most of the time for it to work correctly. You only need one type of insulin, and that's a fast or ultra fast acting insulin for your insulin pump. You will still need to tell the pump when you're going to eat. Some pumps have bolus advisors or bolus calculators that will help you calculate how much insulin you need based on your current blood glucose level and the amount of carbohydrate that you are having. There are two main types of pumps: a tethered insulin pump, which you can see on the left, and a patch insulin pump, which you can see on the right. A tethered pump is attached to your body via another small tube that connects to your cannula. The pump itself usually has all the controls on it and can be carried on your belt, in a pocket, or in a body band. Some tethered pumps can be controlled via your smartphone or by a personal digital assistant, like device or a PDA. A tethered pump is reusable. The insulin reservoir is refilled every 3 days or less if required. The patch pump on the right is attached directly to the surface of your skin at the site you've chosen to place your cannula. The patch pump is often sited on the legs, arms, or on the stomach. Patch pumps have no extra tubing. They are usually controlled by a smartphone or PDA. Patch pumps are typically single-use and disposable. The whole device will need to be changed when the pump alerts you, not just the infusion set and location. Again, this will need to be done every 3 days or less if required. What are the advantages? You won't have to inject as often. The infusion set usually only needs to be changed about every 3 days. Occasionally, you may need to revert to pen injections. If your pump fails or if you're having other problems, which we'll come to shortly, you can tailor your insulin regimen more easily than before, especially before, during, and after exercise. And often you have to plan less far in advance. You'll have more flexibility in what, when, and how much you eat. Pumps allow you to give more precise doses of insulin, leading to better accuracy, such as when bringing down high blood glucose levels. Blood glucose levels more often in the target range, leading to an improved A1C. Most people have fewer highs and also fewer lows. It allows you to target early morning highs, known as the dawn phenomenon. And there's good evidence of improved quality of life on pump therapy. However, it's not all plain sailing. People on insulin pumps can get infusion set failures. The infusion set can sometimes get blocked, so it might need to be changed at short notice and unpredictably. You need to change your cannula at least every 2 to 3 days. You can get infusion site reactions or infections. Very rarely, you can get a pump failure. The pump will need to be attached to you at all times. You can only take it off for small breaks like swimming or showering. Some people say that it is visible and identifies them. It cannot be concealed, and some people find the alarms quite annoying. Some people report that the pump is unwieldy. Initially, you'll need to take a lot of time to learn about your pump. Some report that it interferes with physical activity. Despite this, technology users are similar in terms of sexual behavior, anxiety, and body image compared to non-technology users. Where can I find out more? I would highly recommend the ABCD Diabetes Technology educational resources. Here we can see there's a resource on expert opinions on pump choices, and this is with Geraldine Gallen and Sarah Hartnell. They go through all of the commonly available pumps, such as the Medtronic MiniMed 780, the Tandem T-Slim, the Dana, the Ipso, the Medtrum, and the Omnipod Dash. I cannot do this talk without mentioning the revolutionary NHS hybrid closed-loop pilot program. This was for people with a laboratory A1C greater than or equal to 8.5%, using Freestyle Libre for 3 months and on insulin pump therapy. And this was introduced all over England. So you might ask me, what is a hybrid closed-loop insulin pump? Well, while a person can use an insulin pump and a non-compatible CGM, compatible CGMs allow blood glucose data to transfer seamlessly to the insulin pump. A hybrid closed-loop insulin pump, otherwise known as an artificial pancreas, consists of an insulin pump, a real-time compatible CGM, and the control algorithm, hosted either on the insulin pump itself or on a separate device, such as a smartphone or personal diabetes manager. The different components of the hybrid closed-loop system communicate wirelessly. Based on the real-time glucose data, the control algorithm automatically adjusts the quantity of fast or ultra-fast acting insulin that you're getting. To get the best out of the hybrid closed-loop system, the person with diabetes must still announce the quantity of carbohydrate consumed to the pump. At present, there are 4 hybrid closed-loop systems readily available in the UK. 3 with tethered pumps, and that's the Medtronic 780 Advanced Hybrid Closed-Loop System, the Tandem Control IQ, and CAM APS with Ipso-Ordana pump. And there's 1 patch pump, the Medtrum TouchCare Nano system. We expect that another patch pump, the Omnipod 5 automated insulin delivery system, will become available in the UK market shortly, and that the choice of hybrid closed-loop therapies for people with type 1 diabetes will continue to grow. When a person living with type 1 diabetes is deciding on an insulin pump, the potential for that pump to be part of a hybrid closed-loop system is a very, very important consideration. So I'm just going to briefly touch on some of the hybrid closed-loop pumps that are available in the UK at the moment. So firstly, the MiniMed Medtronic 780G pump, and this is paired with the Guardian 4 transmitter and sensor. Earlier in the NHS pilot, it was paired with the Guardian 3 sensor and transmitter, and there's an important difference there. The Guardian 3 required calibrations, at least 2 calibrations a day, and the Guardian 4 typically does not require calibration. This data can be uploaded via the MiniMed mobile app to the CareLink server, and this can be then reviewed by your healthcare practitioner remotely. Should you wish to look at the virtual demo of the Medtronic MiniMed 780G pump, there is a link below. Next, Tandem Control IQ. This is composed of the Tandem pump and the Dexcom G6 sensor, and the algorithm, the Control IQ, is housed on the Tandem pump. Should you wish to download the Tandem pump, you can download the T-Simulator app, which gives you a very realistic impression of what it'll be like to navigate the pump. CAM apps, a hybrid closed-loop system, consists of an app which is housed on the Android smartphone. It is not compatible with an Apple smartphone at present. That's where CAMS is housed. The pump is either the Dana RS insulin pump, or more recently the Ipso pump, and the sensor is the Dexcom G6. And again, there's a plan for Libre to be paired with this as well. So the algorithm is housed on the smartphone, insulin is delivered via Dana or Ipso, and glucose is sensed via Dexcom. As I said, we expect the Omnipod 5, which is a patch pump, and this will be a closed-loop system to be available on the UK market shortly. And this is paired with the Dexcom G6 sensor, and there's an app to help manage insulin delivery, announcing carbohydrates, etc., on the smartphone. So is there any evidence? Of course there is. So on the Tandem, for the Tandem Control IQ, we have some real-world data. This real-world study shows that time in range improved by 11% on initiation of Control IQ, and this improvement persisted at 1 year. So 11% improvement in time in range following starting Control IQ technology. With CAM APS, the proportion of time that the glucose concentration was within the target range was significantly higher in the closed loop group who used the CAM APS app compared with the control group. And this, as you can see here, was particularly noticeable overnight. In the hybrid closed loop group, HbA1c was reduced from 8.3% at screening to 7.4% after 12-week intervention period. In the control group, who were using a sensor augmented pump, the HbA1c value was reduced from 8.2% at screening to 7.7% after 12 weeks. The difference in reduction in HbA1c between the two groups was 0.4%, favoring hybrid closed loop therapy after only 12 weeks. For the Medtronic 780G, this real-world study shows that time in range improved by 12.1% following initiation of the advanced hybrid closed loop, with a reduction in GMI of 0.4%. Some really outstanding results overall. So what does this look like? So here's an example of a person who changed from open loop to hybrid closed loop. So they were on open loop with the Medtronic 640G with Freestyle Libre 2. You can see time in range was about 9%. Then they started on the Medtronic 780G with the Guardian 4 transmitter. And as we can see, time in range improved from 9% to 76%. Truly outstanding and a wonderful result for this person. This person also reported significant improvement in diabetes distress score, goal score, quality of life. I would never want to go back on an open loop pump again. So what else are people saying? I really cannot tell you how much this has improved my diabetes control and my quality of life. It really is the answer to all my diabetes problems. I found the learning curve very hard at the beginning, My partner and I wish there were less alarms. However, my blood glucose levels have never been better. The hybrid closed-loop system has been the most significant change in my diabetes care since I was put on an insulin pump in 2005. It really has changed my life for the better. I feel that I can now plan for the future. This is an incredible system. I thought it would be intrusive, but it gives me so much control and freedom. So how do you access insulin pump therapy? And I understand that Professor Partha Carr will be updating you on this later. But in brief, the technology appraisal guidance for insulin pump suggests that continuous subcutaneous insulin infusion or insulin pump therapy is recommended as a treatment option for adults and children 12 years and older with type 1 diabetes, provided that it attempts to achieve target A1C with multiple daily injections, result in the person experiencing disabling hypoglycemia or HbA1c levels have remained high, that is greater than 8.5%, and multiple daily injections despite a high level of care. For continuous glucose monitor, offer adults with type 1 diabetes a choice of the real-time continuous glucose monitor or intermittently scanned continuous glucose monitor based on their individual preferences, needs, characteristics, and the functionality of the devices available. What that means in real life is that if you have an insulin pump, the most suitable device would be a continuous glucose monitor that pairs with that insulin pump, which potentially would allow you to have a hybrid closed-loop system. The guidance for hybrid closed-loop systems for managing blood glucose levels in type 1 diabetes are currently under review, and the evidence from the NHS closed-loop pilot was submitted on the 20th of June 2020, and we look forward to the outcome of this guidance, which, as I say, Professor Carr will update us on later. One thing to note, we have loads of smart connected devices, lots of different pumps, and one thing is, it's worth noting that they're not all interoperable. So it's not possible to pair a Dexcom with a Medtronic pump. It's not possible to pair the Guardian 4 with a Novo Pen 6. But all of these things are ongoing, and it's important to keep an eye on that space. When you're choosing the devices and your CGM, it's important to consider whether they're interoperable. And this is changing all the time. I would like to thank you all very much for taking the time to listen to my talk.
Well, wasn't that interesting? So around 64% of you hadn't heard about smart pens. I mean, I'd heard the term smart pen, but I wasn't really sure what they are. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We are running about 10 minutes over, but we should be back on track, I'm told, after lunch. So I hope the 64% of you who haven't heard about smart pens before and joined that session have learned something. Connecting tech is the dream.